Hello everyone, good morning, good evening, and good afternoon to viewers from all walks of life. This is nikymus, and you are welcome to the channel of truth, enlightenment, freedom, and the channel of breaking empaths free. If you are new, on this channel I talk about narcissism and narcissistic abuse, I talk about spirituality, and I talk about personal and self-development. And if any of that resonates with you, I invite you guys to join us. Give us a like, share the video with friends, and you may subscribe if you haven't already. And for those that have always been with us, you are welcome back, and I thank you for your love and support. Now, you will never know how deep you tie to a person emotionally until that person leaves your life. So in this video, we're going to discuss soul ties, trauma bond. A lot of you guys have different names for this. But when I'm talking about a soul tie, of course, eventually, I'm also talking about trauma bonds. Now, again, there is no problem with getting tied up to somebody who is a healthy individual. So when you're tied up to somebody who's a healthy individual, of course, there will be usually pain at the end of those kind of situationships or relationships. But at the end of the day, you can always get along with your life. Yes, there will be pain, but you will get along. But when I'm talking about a trauma bond, soul ties, especially when it comes to those toxic individuals, that is a situation whereby you're going to find yourself extremely, extremely addicted to those people. It's like you are away from them, they have left your life. But at the end of the day, you keep on thinking about them. You know, you want them to call you. You want to go back. Sometimes you end up sneaking up around their workplaces to see if they are. So you're going to still kind of feel that emotional attachment to those individuals. So it is going to be very, very difficult to let go. So on my channel, I always deal with issues concerning narcissism, you know, toxic relationships, and all these kind of things. So a lot of people can relate with this. So there's a lot of people, of course, even sometimes my subscribers and clients as well. So a lot of people, they find themselves in these kind of entanglements, and usually it is very, very difficult for them to let go. You know what I mean? So by letting go, I mean you can move on with your life without having to think about them, you know, thinking about what they're doing, who are they dating, where are they spending their time, how are they sleeping, these things like that. So you just release and let them go. So a soul tie happens when a person uses ways. Soul ties usually happen through sexual intercourse. If you're in some kind of a relationship, they may usually happen during sex, when you have sex with those individuals. But again, soul ties can also happen in friendships. You know, if you have a person who is a friend, like your close friend, best friend, a soul tie can also happen with in families, whereby maybe sometimes those individuals, they're your parents. So they can use so many kind of ways to bond you up with them. So the purpose of that bond is to make it very hard for you and very, very difficult for you to leave. So that's the reason why you see, normally when you have left them, those kind of individuals, when you're broken away from them, whether you've broken away from family, friends, or sometimes intimate partners, it is always going to be very difficult to forget about them. So you're going to spend significant amounts of time, you know, months, sometimes you can even spend even years, you know, sometimes you're always reminiscing those times that you've been with them. You know that they are toxic, but at the same time, it's like your mind is telling you that they are toxic. You shouldn't be with them, or you shouldn't even sometimes contact them, but your body is actually very attached to them, and you still want to get some kind of a physical contact with them. So that is when you know the intensity of a soul tie, a trauma bond. I've personally experienced a trauma bond when I was involved with a narcissist. So I felt the effects of a trauma bond when I went through the first discard. That's when I knew that actually it was very, very difficult, very hard for me to detach from those individuals permanently. You know what I mean? So those are the reasons why you see sometimes people who have been involved with the narcissist, you will see them, sometimes they are swinging in and out, sometimes they are discarded, and then all of a sudden you see 3 weeks later, 4 weeks later, they are coming back into those relationships. Even if they know from the core of their soul, they know that those individuals are very toxic, they always somehow find themselves back into those individuals' lives, the individuals who hurt them and who broke them down in the first place. So it becomes very difficult for you to break away from a soul tie. It's very, very hard. It takes, like I've said, sometimes it takes divine intervention for you to get out of a soul tie. But something you have to understand something, guys. It's possible to cut a soul tie, you know. So when I'm talking about cutting a soul tie, I'm talking about that case whereby you'll find yourself completely detached emotionally, you know, because there's a difference between detaching physically. You may always pick up your bags and leave the vicinity, leave the environment, leave the home. But when you go out there, you know, it doesn't matter how far you go, you always find yourself you're sometimes regretting your moves. Did you do the right thing? You want to go back to those guys. You want to contact them again. You want them to call you. You're looking for them. You know, it's like you're missing them on a very, very deep level. But normally it's because of the addictionship you feel. So it has nothing to do with when you're trauma bonded or soul tied with a narcissist or those kind of toxic individuals. It has nothing to do with love. So you are not really in love with them. It is just the addiction that you have with them that is making you miss them, sometimes want to get back into contact with them. So it is usually very difficult for victims of abuse to break away emotionally from those kind of people. Now, basically, you've got to understand something when you're cutting a soul tie. Number one is for you to understand that these particular individuals, they have done it, they have tied themselves to you emotionally on purpose. They do it on purpose. They know what they are doing. So in the beginning, they know that usually those kind of entanglements or relationships, situationships, they're not going to end anywhere. They're not going to go anywhere. So normally what they do, because they know themselves, a lot of those toxic individuals, they know themselves because they're usually catching up on the patterns that have been going on in their lives. So they know the amount of people they have dated and things didn't work out. And they know the people they have gotten involved with and things never worked out. So what they do now, when they meet you, especially an unsuspecting empath, when they meet you, what they do, they are going to find ways of completely tying themselves to you. So you may sometimes see them telling you things like, oh, you know what, let's move in together, let's start having a baby. You know, sometimes you'll see them, they'll come into your life, they will try to make you pregnant, or they try to get you pregnant, or you will try to they'll try to propose to you very quickly, marry them very fast. Sometimes they're going to ask you to move in with them very fast. So you're going to find in a couple of days, after meeting them, they're telling you, oh, you know what, it's better for us to move in together because it's going to be very easier for us to, you know. So they're going to find all ways to make sure that they suck you into that entanglement or relationship very quickly so that you can move in with them and they can get a hold of you. So the very moment you decide to accept their offers, whether it is moving in or having a child or getting married, or sometimes you can even see them as soon as you move in, they're going to tell you, you know what, it is going to be better for us to buy a house. So you're going to now go into mortgages and things like that. So they will know that sometimes, of course, when you guys get involved in commercial properties or sometimes financial ties together, it is always going to be very difficult for you to move, because anytime you're going to think about moving, you also think about, oh, what am I going to lose? You know, these people, we have bought a house together, we have got finances together. Maybe sometime you guys took out a loan from the bank. So, or maybe sometimes it could even be sometimes something as simple as car finances or things like that for you guys who are usually into cars and all that. So it is always going to be very hard for you because of the ties they create in the initial stages of those entanglements. It is always going to be very difficult for you to completely detach from them. So you will go, sometimes even physically, you will leave. But then at the end of the day, you're going to think about the losses, what have you got to lose, you know, a lot of money involved. Sometimes they have already stolen your money. Maybe sometime in the beginning of those entanglements, they have taken some money from you, maybe a couple of millions, and you're thinking, I'm going to leave these people, and then at the end of the day, they're not going to be able to pay me back. So sometimes you always have to find a way of keeping on getting attached to them. And that is where the problem comes now, because it becomes very, very sometimes it can even be something as simple as sex. They may have usually trauma bonded you through the sex, very, very intensive sex. So whereby sometimes you leave them and you're going to think, oh, you know, when you leave them, you're going to be missing the sex. So sometimes you find yourself always gravitating back towards them because, you know, maybe sometimes you think, oh, I don't need them, but at least I need the sex. So you will sometimes go back to them just to have the sex, because you will always remember that sex that you guys are together. So when toxic individuals are bonding with you, getting tied up with you, they do so many things to make sure that you become their subject, their victim, and you become a captive. So they will kind of entangle you permanently. Sometimes it can be permanently. I've seen sometimes situations whereby people have never been able to break away from toxic individuals for the rest of their lives. So they always keep on sliding in and out. They're discarded, they're hovered, they're discarded, they're hovered. So those kind of cycles, sometimes I've seen them. They have usually gone on for the end of their lives until, again, I've said, until there's always some kind of a divine intervention. Maybe sometime a person might intervene. A person who is more aware about these kind of things, they might intervene and actually help you to break out of those kind of connections. But you've got to understand something, guys, that it's possible to break a soul tie. You know what I mean? The soul ties don't last forever if you are willing. If you are willing and you put in the effort and you want to put in the work to disconnect from those guys emotionally, you know. So what you can do now, a lot of times we guys have talked about things like no contact. So when you're talking about no contact, guys, the no contact is the only way, the first initial way. Especially, let me talk about the case whereby you guys have just detached, you know, maybe you've been discarded at the initial stages. So the importance why you hear coaches all over the world talking about no contact. No contact is one of the most effective means for you to start. It may not necessarily mean that you're going to break the soul contact in one or 2 days, but it is the breaking point whereby you're going to now start breaking out of that soul tie. You know what I mean? So by no contact, those people, they can, for example, they have, you guys might have been sharing a lot of things together. You might have had a lot of social media accounts whereby you're sharing a lot of pictures together. You might have even sometimes physical photographs. You might have their numbers in your phone, messages in your phone. You might have their emails, sometimes their DMs. A lot of things. What we mean by no contact is by now you're starting to detach from these individuals emotionally. So you don't want to break a soul tie with somebody and you're still holding a lot of pictures in your phone. You know, you guys, maybe sometimes you were at the beach or you went on a holiday somewhere out of the country and you had a lot of pictures together. You don't want to keep those kind of things in your phone. You might want to start removing or deleting those things one by one until the last picture you guys have ever taken together. And then after that, when you delete the pictures, you might now want to go back and remove their numbers from your phone. You can start deleting their numbers from your phone, their names from your phone. Of course, if they're your partners, like for example, you guys have been having kids together, you have children together, you're breaking away. Let's say, for example, you're breaking away from a narcissist and you guys have kids together. So you might see sometimes a situation whereby it may require you to save. Yes, you have the number in their phone, but you may actually sometimes remove the name that you've been calling. So let me say you've been storing the name as Babe. There was a name Babe on the phone, on the number of that phone. You may now change the name to something else that actually you will not even sometimes you may sometimes write. Let me say you'll now change the name from Babe to Miss X. So the person who was your babe or wifey or things like that, or hubby or whatever, Mr. Handsome or whatever, you guys have so many names you can use. So you can say, okay, so this person now I'm changing the name to Mr. X. Now you can put the name Mr. X. Now, soul ties normally happen in the brain, very deep in the subconscious. Normally what happens is that your brain, whenever your brain gets into contact or you see this kind of pictures you guys have to have together, the messages that you guys share together during your partnership, you see those kind of things. Those are the things that trigger the emotions to come back into your mind, and that's exactly when you're going to start missing them. So whenever you start looking at their pictures, maybe sometimes you have got pictures on the walls, you have got pictures in your phone, on your Facebook pages, Instagram, and things like that. Anytime you look at those pictures, that is exactly when you start to reminisce all those old times together. You miss them, you start to, miss them on a very deep level. You want to contact them. Oh, those were the good times. I really want to contact these people. Now, let me tell you guys something. It is very important when talking about no contact. No contact means no contact. When you decide to go out of somebody's life and you guys are broken up, you have confirmed for a fact that those individuals, particular individuals, they were very toxic individuals. They're not supposed to be a part of you. It is very important for you to know that you cannot have the original names you've been using in your phone. So you delete their numbers if you don't have any attachments together. Maybe you guys don't have kids together, financial ties together, or things like that. You may even want to uproot all their numbers in their phone or from your phone, and also the numbers that are related. This is very important, guys. The numbers that are related to all the people who have been involved in you guys as a couple. So this can be sometimes their family members, people who are known to them, their fathers, their mothers, the people like that. You might have to start to delete each and everybody, because those guys, what they do, when they notice that actually you have blocked them or you remove them from the phone, so what they do now, they start to use flying monkeys, so they can use their aunties, their uncles, the people like that. They can now start to use those individuals to come in and get into contact with you, because they know that they have tied you up at some level, and they want to use any way possible to make sure that they always push one or two buttons. You know what I mean? This can be a simple message from their fathers or their mothers. This can be a simple message they will send you. Oh, you know what? We miss you and this and that. You should come and check on us. So sometimes they're going to use a lot of flying monkeys to always try to slide in back into your life. So when you're getting no contact with these individuals and you're blocking them and you're removing them out of your life, you also have to remove the people that are involved with them, because normally those toxic individuals, they always use other individuals around them as flying monkeys, because when you're out of their life, they always want to use somebody, a father, a mother, an uncle, or an auntie, or something like that. So you delete them out of your phone, you remove all their numbers. Even sometimes for the most of you who guys who have got parents, kids together, children together, you can always change the names to a Mr. X or a Mr. Y. So it has got to be that name that doesn't remind you of that particular individual. So whenever you want, you have, like, so let me say you got you can even put an ex-wife, ex-girlfriend, or things like that. So your mind will process it like an ex. It will no longer see that person as the person they used to be. Your mind is going to continue processing those individuals as an ex. So you're going to register those individuals as an ex. So no contact is one of the biggest things that also helped me along my journey when I was leaving the narcissist. It's one of the things I did. I made sure that I had to completely do everything that in my power to make sure that I do not look at anything that will keep on reminding me of those individuals. So your mind doesn't want to see the memories. The mind is always connected to memories. So whenever you're having a lot of things to remember, things to remind you of those particular individuals, you look at their pictures, the messages on the phone, the posts on Instagram, Facebook, and all these things like that. That is exactly when the mind is always triggered to start missing them. But I can guarantee you guys that anything that you're missing in those particular situations, you're just missing the addiction ship. So there is nothing like love. Those individuals, toxic. Let me tell you something. One thing to note in this video, guys. Toxic individuals, they don't love. They don't love. They cannot love. They don't even have love for themselves. They don't even love themselves. A lot of them, you'll see them, they hate themselves. So you're not supposed to believe that those individuals that have ever loved you from the beginning, they have never loved you guys. It's very painful for you to understand this. But a toxic individual, narcissist, all these psychopaths and whatever, they cannot love you. They are not capable of love, or pure love at least. So removing them from your contacts is one of the things you can do to go no contact. Don't call them, don't message them, don't SMS them. Guys, it's going to be very painful, especially within the first 1 or 2 or 3 days. It is always going to be very, very painful to think about them. You're going to be struggling with your phone. Sometimes you will have your phone in your hand and you're thinking about sending them a message. But that's why now you're going to be put to the most difficult test of your life. Are you really going to call them? You do think you miss them? Are you going to SMS them or something like that? When you fall for that, that's when you're going to go back to the beginning. So whenever you get into contact with those kind of individuals, toxic individuals, you break the contact. They call it breaking contact. So when you break the contact, you always go back to the beginning because your brain now is re-triggered to think about them and to miss them. And now you're starting to call them, and now you're going to hear their voice on the other side of the phone. Oh, how are you doing? I was thinking about you and blah, blah, blah. And now you're going to go back to the beginning of the whole stage. So breaking no contact, guys, is very important. When you decide to break no contact, stay like that and keep it like that, and do not ever way, in whichever way, decide to initiate some form of a contact with those toxic individuals. That is for you guys who are trying to break free emotionally. So it's one of the things you can do, guys, to break a soul tie. Now, the second important things, I'm not going to talk about a lot of issues here, but the second most important things I've told you guys in my videos is looking at material possessions. So when you're looking at material possessions, you might have had a relationship with somebody who may have been with you for a couple of years, and during the course of those entanglements, so what those toxic people do now, they may sometimes go into the shop and buy you a diamond ring. They may go into a shop and buy you jewelry, golden jewelry, necklaces, a beautiful watch, a nice Rolex watch, and things like that, because those are the things they do to put some value into that relationship. But at the end of the day, it's not the value they are putting. They're actually tying you up to themselves. So sometimes you may find yourself that you've broken away with them. You've gone on with your life. But it's very, very difficult because whenever you look at the watch, maybe sometimes there's a watch in your on top of the table. So sometimes you're watching the necklaces they bought you. You're thinking about, oh, I remember on our vacation, on our honeymoon, or things like that. They bought me this necklace, and sometimes you're reminiscing on just some of those simple items like that. You may see them as simple items. Sometimes they may even be valuable, but there is nothing that is as valuable as your life. Individuals, guys, ladies and gentlemen, I want you to listen that there is nothing that is of more value than your own life. When you're breaking away from a toxic individual, you're actually breaking away from somebody for good. So you never ever think that those little things they bought you, like necklaces, like a watch, it does not matter how much they cost. Guys, you can always go and pound them. You can always go and exchange them for something else. If it is a car that always reminds you of those individuals, you can always go and put that car out there and maybe sometimes exchange it and get another car instead of that one, or you may even sometimes sell it off and buy another car. What you're trying to do is that you're trying to get rid of all the possessions that you have that tie you guys together. So whenever you think about those things, you look at them, a watch, you look at the necklace, you look at the beautiful shoes they bought you, maybe that beautiful dinner dress or a gown or things like that. Everything that you look at, that you guys have had together, it is actually that particular item that actually triggers. That's why I've told you that these guys in the beginning, they are doing these things on purpose. Whenever you're going to see these items in front of you, you're wearing them along the way, you're always going to be triggered because you're now going to bring back, oh, this is so-and-so who bought me that watch. This is so-and-so who bought me that necklace. And now that's when the brain is going to register that actually, oh, maybe sometime we miss them. We need to contact them and get back in touch with them. But guys, everything what I'm talking about here, everything what is involved with a toxic individual, everything is an illusion. So you should never ever in your mind believe or think that those particular things that are happening, they are true. Everything that is going on with a toxic individual, everything is an illusion. It is just a trap to make sure that they tie you up and set you up for destruction, number one, and secondly, to set you up forever, because you are a source of supply. You are their property. Those toxic individuals, they don't see people as normal human beings. They see people as properties. So they just take you in so that they can use you for their own benefit. Whether they're going to use you through sex, whether they just need a place to sleep, maybe you've got a house and they just need a house to stay, whether it is just something that they are going to benefit off of you. Maybe you've got a good credit score, so maybe they want to take some loans from the bank. So a lot of toxic individuals, they just get into entanglements or situationships with people, not because they really love you, but they just always look at the big picture. There is always something what they want to get from you. But for them to be able to get those things out of you, so they have got to invest a little bit in you. So they invest a little bit in you by buying you little things. Sometimes they even spend a lot of money. You'll even see them sometimes. They may decide to just carry you and take you off on a very, very expensive holiday, on a boat cruise or things like that. So you're going to see a lot of investments in the beginning. And those are the things they are going to use against you at the end of those entanglements. Because like I've said, these guys, they already know that those entanglements, they're going to finish. At some point, things are going to break down. They know that it's not going to get, you guys are not going to get anywhere. So they need strong attachments to you at the end of those entanglements. So when you decide to catch up on them, because at the end of the day, most of you guys have really caught up on them. So what you do now is that your brain is starting to think, I really need to leave these individuals. So you leave them physically, you're still tied to them emotionally. So they know all these kind of dynamics at the end of those entanglements. That's the reason why they use these small attachments, small or big attachments, like properties, like things like physical items, rings, watches, and things like that, dresses and gowns, even expensive holidays. So they use anything they can do in their power to make sure that they tie you up completely, so that even if you ever think about leaving them, it is almost impossible. Guys, I've seen people who have failed to break soul ties for so many periods of years. You've heard about people who have left, like narcissists, for example. You've seen them leaving narcissists, and at the end of the day, it is almost like 5 years down the road, and then somewhere you're just waking up in the morning and you see those individuals back to those particular individuals who broke their hearts 5 years ago. So when you're talking about trauma bonds and soul ties, guys, you've got to be very careful. You have got to know that you have got to put in the work. You have got to be committed to breaking out of toxic relationships, because when you don't put in the work and you don't put in the commitment, that's when that thing can go on and on and on. And again, it also disrupts you from the journey. If you're a person who is trying to grow, you're trying to move on to the next level, you're trying to do other better things, maybe sometimes find your soulmate or partners and other meaningful individuals in your life, it is always going to be very difficult, because whenever you want to move on, somebody comes to propose to you, they want to date you, maybe sometimes you found somebody who wants to go out with you, even sometimes somebody wants to stay with you for the rest of their lives. It is always going to be difficult when you have not broken a soul tie. So that's why I've said that most of the times when you're living toxic individuals, it is always very important to understand that you have got to take a break, and you do this kind of things that I'm telling you today, things like going no contact, and getting rid of physical items that you guys have already shared together. So you might want to take some time and work on yourself, you know what I mean? There's a lot of work to be done, because remember, guys, if you ever think about jumping into a new relationship without having finished with the old person, like breaking away from them emotionally, cutting soul ties and everything, that is when it's always going to be difficult, because now those kind of energies and toxic energy and whatever and emotions, they are now always going to spill into the new relationship, and sometimes you might end up hurting very good people, you know what I mean? Sometimes you might even end up meeting a soulmate, a potential soulmate, a lifetime partner, things like that. But because you have not healed and moved on from the previous relationship, you have not closed everything, you have not closed the case permanently, those things always spill back into the new relationship, and they always keep on affecting you with the new partner. Sometimes you're going to end up fighting with them for no reason, blaming things on them and things like that. So it always is important for you guys to make sure that you put in the work. Devote yourself to putting in the work and heal, number one. And secondly, do those things that I've told you, because you have got to cut the soul ties. If you haven't cut the soul ties for whichever reason, you're always going to end up even sometimes breaking up with the new partners. Sometimes even you're going to lose very, very big chances in your life, because you're going to send out the people that are meant to be with you along your journey. So guys, let me know what you think about this video in the comment section below. Let me know which ways I've shared so many ways to break soul ties and trauma bonds in my videos, but in this moment I just wanted to elaborate more on emotional disconnection with those individuals. So I just want to elaborate more about the issue of no contact when you're breaking a soul tie, cutting a soul tie, or the issue of getting rid of belongings and things like that, physical belongings, material items and things like that. You have got to get rid of them, guys. When you're living a toxic individual, you're starting all over again. So everything is starting, your life is starting again. And you cannot start a new life when you're still attached to old things that have been a part of you when you're still involved with those individuals. So everything has got to go for you to be able to move forward and become a better version of yourself and live the life to your fullest. Let me know what you think about this video in the comment section below, guys. I always love and appreciate your support. Book a session, donate and support to this channel if you want to. And until then, I'll get back to you in my next one. Much love and blessings. Desmos signing out, and peace. Catch you in my next one.